Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to It's Showtime. This is your hostess with the mostest, the Matt Weinberg, sitting here with Mr. Showtime himself. How you doing today, Showtime?
I am great, Matt. I'm telling you, it's been a glorious day. How are you today?
You know, Showtime, been thinking about this for a long time, and all I have to say is to you, in the words of the great Montez Ford, God is good. God is good.
All the time, man.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time.
I like that. I always knew I liked you.
No, I'm what can I say? I'm the people's voice, if you will. The people have been very good to the Matt Weinberg over the years.
That's what I like to hear.
So, shout out to the people. But yeah, so we've had a very interesting week. First episode went live, and we've gotten some really good feedback on it, so thank you to those who have reached out. And we definitely do need to step up our social media game. We'll get there. Mr. Showtime is, busy running, a world-class organization.
I have 2 phones.
He's like 2 chains.
Yeah.
2 phones. I'm just busy running my own universe. So, trying to build a universe, people. Trying to build a universe. And everyone should do that. So yeah, we gotta get on that. But we've had a very interesting week in terms of wrestling. There's news about people wanting out of AEW. There's news about Naomi and Sasha Banks coming back onto the WWE roster. There is all the talk we can talk about CM Punk. We both watched NXT last night. Mr. Showtime was there in the building, as always, so we can talk about some NXT. And we can also talk about Monday Night Raw. So, Mr. Showtime, I'm going to throw the ball in your corner. How would you like to start off the show?
You know what? I think we should start off with this tag team women's championship. Like, I know I'm probably with the majority of people who say, Triple H, man, I don't get it. I don't know where they're going with it. I mean, how do you feel about that?
So, in all honesty, I didn't know it was happening. I was busy working during Raw. So when I got home, the only thing I saw on TV was Riddle and Rollins promo, which is absolutely fantastic. And while I was seeing that, at the same time, I was on TikTok and I saw the ending of that match. And incredible ending.
Yep.
But the one thing that I saw was Dakota Kai looking at Io Sky saying, I was not the legal person. So you can look at it as Triple H maybe messed up this call. I don't think that's the case. This is a live event. Yes, it is scripted. Yes, in some aspects it is, predetermined and all that sort of stuff. But mistakes do happen. People get injured. They have to change it on the fly. And I think there was either a miscommunication or the referee messed up. I don't think this was intentional because you don't build the story around Bayley and Dakota and Io and not immediately put the belts on them unless the rightful owners of those titles come to claim it.
It's true. It's very true. That's a big one, though, Matt, because I did not see that in the whole situation. So I never thought about it that way at all. I hope so. Triple H has been hitting home runs, I feel, for me. And just the little things he's done. And so this one was kind of suspect. Now, there are NXT people. I get it. Raquel, that's the homie. Definitely well-deserved. But that was just a made-up team.
But the thing is, in all honesty, if you look at it, Raquel fought the majority of the match, and she has fought the majority of the matches. So, kind of I can see where Triple H putting the belts on them makes sense because this makes Raquel Gonzalez look amazing because she carried them to the title. it makes her a legitimate contender up for women's title shot. Puts her in that contention immediately. Shows what a powerhouse she is. And honestly, if you know anything about Aaliyah or follow Aaliyah, she's been around the block for a long time. She even did Tough Enough. I think the last season of Tough Enough, I'm pretty sure she was on it. So she's been around for a long time and, has paid her dues, so definitely well deserving of it. But like I said, I just don't think this was the right timing for it, because what are you now going to do? Have, the three of Bailey chase them? It doesn't make any sense. Right. I don't know how you long-term book that without eventually getting to a three-way title shot. Io Sky, Dakota Kai versus Aaliyah and Raquel, and versus Naomi Sasha, to who is the rightful owner of the title.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, though. How do you feel it would have went had Toxic Attraction still been in the running? Because that's where, for me, maybe that was the spot where they would win. And then if they would win, now you have the new tag team from NXT coming up versus Sasha and Naomi come back and go after it again. That makes it a compelling story. So now where do we go from there?
No, and I believe you 100%. Now I think, was it Gigi?
Yeah, Gigi.
I believe that definitely swerved the creative process and the long-term booking a little bit. But at the same time, it's funny that you mentioned that, because as all of this was going down, it was yesterday, I was really looking at this stuff, and now watching NXT titles, tag team titles, like, it would have been a perfect time to bring them up and have the NXT tag team title owners in that tournament.
Yep.
Because then they can prove that they are among the better tag teams and all that sort of stuff, right? Now, the other side of that, too, is during whatever was going on at NXT last night, there was almost 4 women's tag teams in the ring at one point. I love the fact that they dropped a Nikki Ash in there. Because that was a little bit of a swerve I didn't see coming. Because they don't have NXT tag titles to possibly unify. But it would have been cool to possibly unify the women's tag team championships. I mean, it was at one point one for every brand. When the Iconics held it, they would go down to NXT and defend it. So they could do that, and that would be a way of bridging that gap of not many women's tag teams right now.
With a lot of women still in NXT that can help out.
Exactly. And that was really cool, except for I just couldn't get over the fact they hadn't made Nikki not a superhero anymore. Like, especially if you're going to have her almost defending, like, NXT UK titles, imaginary, if you will, with Doudrop. They're both talking full accents, everything like that, which is, I mean, that's what they're from. Like, let her just represent herself.
I think that we're going to get there, but Triple H seems to be on a very slow, gradual turn. Kind of like when you look at Butch. So he had Pete Dunne's stuff on for SmackDown. So, now I think that they're kind of getting back there. Matt Riddle. Now back to Matt Riddle. Austin Theory. It's back to Austin Theory.
Yeah, people. I did see Austin Theory get his full name back. I did see Matt Riddle this morning. That's when I saw that news get that back. I mean, we saw it early on. The first second they could put Mustafa Ali back into Mustafa Ali, they did it.
Yep.
So that's great stuff. I mean, Ciampa's been Tommaso Ciampa, again, it's just Ciampa. So it's really good stuff like that. I'm interested to see where they go with all of this. Today is Wednesday, so we don't have any WWE tonight, so we'll have to see what they do about the women's tag team titles on Friday. Which I think will get really interesting, because we've been talking about Naomi and Sasha, and as of this morning or last night, they are part of WWE roster on WWE.com, so we can definitely see them show up on SmackDown. I don't know. I'm intrigued to see what happens. What do you think?
I do know that they, from what I've heard, they've already filmed SmackDown. So there's
it's been recorded because they're going away.
Yeah, so there shouldn't be anything new there. So what I think is going to happen is if there's going to be a big swerve or something, it comes Saturday. or we go back to Monday.
You know what was very interesting to me is that I didn't realize that Clash of the Castle is on Saturday and Worlds Collide is on Sunday.
Yep.
So like NXT is actually getting the bigger push almost because they're on Sunday night.
Yep, and I think the next thing about it was also you don't want to go up against the NFL as much as possible, right? For that,
So the NFL was starts on next week with college this week.
Yeah, so college, I guess they wanted to put that up against college, hoping that would make a difference. I mean, it's in a new place this time, so it's just something that I don't know. I'm really excited to see where they go with this, though, because I think that for the women's division, they're like under Vince, there just wasn't a lot going on. He gave him 3 to 5 minute matches. It wasn't anything too big.
Yeah. Would you ever think that Vince actually cares about women? I mean,
very true. Very, very true.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm super excited where it's at. I cannot wait to see when Sasha and Naomi come back in, how they do that. But I'm also, again, still intrigued with how NXT plays a role in this because had Toxic Attraction, which everybody knows I love Toxic Attraction. Have they not had the issue where she got a concussion? This could all be different for them, and we could have, I thought, see Toxic go up first, and then
we even had this discussion the other day, where if that concussion didn't happen, or even now, actually we had the discussion last night, could we possibly see Mandy Rose losing the NXT title? Now, after last night, and the promo that was ran with her and Shayna Baszler, I don't think that's going to happen. But my thought is this is actually a pretty decent way to get top NXT talent to keep belts. I need the UK talent coming in to keep their belts and unify them to NXT. And giving the ones that don't unify a push to put them back on the main roster. I felt that with Braun Breaker last night, as well as I felt that with Mandy Rose up until that Shayna Baszler promo. But either way, I think both of those matches, as well as the tag titles, are going to be absolutely insane because they have to show UK strong style, all that sort of stuff. British strong style. And they're going to have to bridge that gap between, okay, we're introducing this now to the American audiences that haven't been watching UK, but also whichever one of these two champions lose, they have to look amazing on the way out. No matter what. I think you can do that with Braun more than you can do with Mandy right now, because Mandy needs to prove that the last year hasn't been for nothing.
I think, though, when they talk about the triple threat, I think the easiest way, though, because you got to find a way to get the belt off Mandy at some point, right? You're going to move around. So the easiest route to go is you have Davenport win this match. She takes both belts. You unify both of them and you're over. Because I think the other thing we have to look at, which I don't know this for a fact, but I also wonder what the UK people right now they're over in the States for the time, right? They have a year to go before we see Europe come through. So how many of them want to stay over? What does this look like? Or is this just a...
I think the people that made the trip over are the ones that wanted to stay over, and the ones that didn't are gone.
That's what I'm saying.
But like I said, I don't see a way that Mandy Rose can lose unless it's some sort of disqualification or injury, whether real or a work, that she can possibly lose and still look good on the main roster.
So I shouldn't take the pin? I think that's what the biggest thing is.
Is the NXT Women's Championship a triple threat?
Triple threat.
That's why I'm so confused. Okay. Awesome. I did not catch that. It's okay. Have her not take the pin. That makes complete sense. But still, I mean, how many champions have unified titles? Not many.
That's true.
You have Jericho, you have Roman, you have the Usos, you have, Seth Rollins did it. Seth had WWE Intercontinental and US at the same time. But he was also first NXT champion, so that works there.
Warrior has got multiple at the same time. But again, you don't need that many belts.
No,
so at some point, if you're going to keep them unified, just make one tag belt, one heavyweight, and go down the list.
But I think also if you were going to have the way you set that up is Toxic Attraction should own all belts.
Yeah.
So when and if Mandy wins, you have to have the other two get the belts somehow, some way. You know.
And you go backwards. I think that's the problem. Is you have Toxic Attraction that had these belts for so long. We love them, but at some point we also want to see them thrive. And to me, I know some people didn't say that they had a really good match, but to me, you know what? Let's go into AEW stars wanting to come back over to WWE.
So do they want to come back over to WWE, or has there been a big investment in the Riot Pro Wrestling that I don't know about? You're just spending cash and trying to get people from AEW now.
Hey, whoa. Hey, you can't be talking about that kind of stuff. It's called tampering, and that's not what Riot does. So we're going to mark that part out. Tony, think you're awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. Trips, how's it going, man? So yeah, you can't do that. But what I can say is, AEW has come in, basically taking the WCW place to now battle WWE. I know it's not a true battle, but it is a battle, right? And it's a war. And I'm sorry, when I look at this, and I talk to my friends all the time who are AEW fans, they have not delivered. They are stuck around 800-something thousand viewers. I feel like there is no trueness to what they're doing. And especially after hearing that Tony Khan does pretty much all of it by himself, everybody talks about long-term booking. That's not long-term booking. That's just that you have too many people on your roster and you can't put a true thing together. You got to feature different people each time. So you're going weeks without seeing somebody. It just doesn't make sense. And lastly, now that you talk about it, production is terrible. Like, if you're going to spend your money, don't spend it on a video game. Spend it on production to make it look at least halfway as good as WWE does, because that's another big thing. When I go into WWE, if I haven't watched something for a week, I come back, video package, they tell me what's going on, they explain. If I didn't get to see the pay-per-view, they give me all the details, why this is happening, and I can continue to move on from it. And I just don't think that's what's happening.
Well, I think that also has to go with the experience of Tony Khan versus like the experience of Vince or Triple H, and WWE versus AEW. And yeah, AEW is using a WCW almost type like model. They have to learn how to be different, and their show and all that looks pretty good, but to the average or the occasional viewer, you have to make it look like WWE does, because WWE looks a lot better. I fully agree with that. But different levels of experience, different levels of production, different levels of storytelling. I don't really watch a whole lot of AEW. I just haven't been a fan. I believe that WWE has had the better product, this whole entire time, even when I wasn't really watching. So it just depends. But you do run into that, the roster's overstuffed with top-tier talent, just like WWE runs into, which is why they have to have Raw, SmackDown, and NXT.
Yep.
And that's even why they had 205 Live, because they couldn't even use any of those cruiserweight guys to show off any of the stuff. It's also why they do main event and all that sort of stuff.
Another one's out there
now. So that's why you do that sort of stuff. And AEW don't believe has the foundation yet to do all that. That's why they have AEW Dark, and they're also now talking about another television show or just a YouTube show also. So they're trying to play catch up in a game, but they're playing in different stadiums.
And I don't think YouTube is the right way to go at this moment. I understand that this is a new age and that's the thing to do, but when you're going against a giant and you're trying to figure out how to, get to their level, because right now we're not going to beat them.
Yeah, but here at the end of the day, ad revenue is ad revenue. And it's easier to sell YouTube ads, I'm assuming, than television ads. They are definitely a lot cheaper.
Yeah, but if you are a TV deal, I don't have to worry about it. Definitely. Now, them coming back up on a new TV deal, that would make the difference the second time around. But I mean, I just don't understand the process that they think through. It's not the wrestling. The wrestling's incredible. I mean, AEW, if I want to see pure wrestling and I just want to see great matches, I can turn on AEW at any point in time. I'm going to be entertained by that. But other than that, there's no real storylines, or I can't keep up with what's going on. Chris Jericho has been in 47 groups since the last time I seen him.
Yeah.
I don't know where that's going. I don't know who's on his team, who's not. Like, there's just too much going on, and I don't have the people that I want to see featured enough. And that's even crazy because coming from a WWE, they over-feature people. I'm not saying they have to be on every show every night, but at least, you know, you have something on Monday, then follow up on next Monday, or maybe do a Friday for it. They really don't have two separate rosters right now. Or give me like WWE. That's another thing WWE does. Instead of using YouTube for that, they use YouTube to give you extra stuff that you wouldn't have seen going forward.
Well, and that's the thing is the experience aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
It is long-term storytelling isn't necessarily about telling a story that takes a long time, right?
Right.
Long-term storytelling is reminding people what's happened previously, especially now in today's world. Attention span is nowhere near what it used to be.
Right.
You know, so, and especially with, you know, the older generations, our generation, stuff like that, there's so many things to do. I'll spend an hour or 2 hours just on TikTok scrolling because I have such a short attention span. You know, a 30-second, 8-second video, you know, stimulates me now more than a 3-hour show does or a movie does. You know, I was watching the movie last night, and I was watching Central Intelligence because it was on after NXT. And in all the commercials, I just whip out my phone and get on TikTok or get on Twitter or something like that because I'm not going to watch the commercials, but I needed some sort of stimulation at that point. So, and that's where I think AEW falters is they don't recognize that the attention span is not there. They think that because their viewership or their audience, is the non-WWE fan bases and the people that care more, and the wrestlers and the adults versus the kids, or the teenagers versus the kids, and they're the non-family version of it, that people are going to be smarter and retain information more. But in all honesty, no, they don't. Because everyone's addicted to their phones in their pocket. Everyone has 18 million different things in their brain all at one time. You know, I mean, even sitting here, we both have full-time jobs, and we have other jobs on top of that, and then we're still trying to find, you know, time to do this, and then find time for our other passions and stuff like that.
Right.
You know, and then possibly somewhat see your families and, you know, enjoy a nice dinner every once in a while. And now you're expecting me to watch, you know, 6 hours of wrestling, not really telling me a good story to keep me engaged in it, just wrestling, but then don't remind me of what happened the week before, 2 weeks before, because I barely even know what I ate for breakfast this morning versus what happened to a TV show last week. You know, if you watch Game of Thrones, you watch Sopranos, you watch, you know, any TV show, they always do last week's episode, blah, 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 blah happened. You know,
The intro.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's the big differentiation of that you'll see. Like WWE makes the point to almost over package that sort of stuff and keep on reminding you constantly. But then again, the marketing is the kid, not adults. Kids have even less attention span than we do.
Yep.
You know, so I understand that, but it's almost like 0% in AEW to 120% at WWE. There has to be some sort of middle ground, and until they realize that, that's why I will continue to watch WWE, because at the time, I believe NXT goes against AEW, and WWE, Raw, and SmackDown are in a league of their own.
Yep.
I still believe that, but the wrestling at AEW is now on par with Raw and SmackDown, and not just NXT Black and Gold.
Right.
But the storytelling in WWE is still way better, so they're still in competition to NXT in my mind in terms of viewership, because as we talked about last episode, as we've talked about constantly, it's not. You have to recognize wrestling for what it is. It is scripted. It is predetermined. It is that. It's an opera. It's a soap opera. But there still is athleticism involved.
Yep. Lots of it.
You know, I mean, I've seen Showtime take a bump. I've taken bumps.
It hurts.
Like, it hurts. You know, you're slamming your body onto a wooden plank. Yeah, there's some give, and yeah, there's that. You know, there are people that aren't getting punched in the face 40 times in the match. I get that. But there is still athleticism, and you still have to watch for that, but the thing that keeps us coming back is the story. Because if I don't care about the person, I'm not going to watch it because I have 300 million other options to keep my attention.
No, I'm with you on that, man. That's why I think that when you look at the stars, Bobby Fish has been probably the most active about saying, how upset he is about how just creative and things are going for him. Miro has come out and also said he feels like he had it better before, but I think the biggest thing for them is they all wanted to get away from the Vince type of era in the WWE because they didn't have any freedom at all, and I believe you've got to have some freedom out there.
I mean, let's put it this way. I mean, there was a rumor this week that Triple H has been talking to Bray Wyatt, and they're looking at a multi-year deal, for Wyatt to come back as the Fiend and also be Bray Wyatt again, So we can all now realize it wasn't WWE issue; it was a Vince issue.
Yep.
And even Miro said, looking at that, it was more of a Vince issue, not a WWE issue. And when AEW came out, all the fanboys and all the bloggers and vloggers and YouTubers and all that sort of stuff were like, oh my god, AEW is going to be so different. They're going to treat people right. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. Besides Kenny, the Young Bucks, Jericho, the people that started it, basically, who else has been taken care of? They kicked Cody Rhodes out.
But really, Cody, I feel like left.
Because he was over it. There's got to be stuff that we don't know about up the top that is why they can't succeed that way. One or two, I'm going on a rant, guys. I'm sorry. And I'm also trying to thought, but they were supposed to make everything better for the people. Besides paying them more, what have they done? They're still contractors. They still don't have health insurance. They still don't have PTO. They still don't have all, their travel and stuff like that. They still have to take care of it themselves. They still have to do all that sort of stuff. They still work 350 days out of the year.
Well, a lot of people were saying that, the difference between WWE and AEW is they don't have to wrestle as much. So that was another thing that a lot of people like to do. Yeah. But the weird part is you put AEW in a place where, okay, this is going to be where wrestling is, where everybody wants to be, that are the no-namers, the people that are honestly from the indies. Yet, every time a WWE person got released, now you're saying they need to be in AEW, and now we're back to pretty much seeing a preview of ex-WWE people, which I don't have a problem with that. There's a ton of people on AEW. I would love to come over to WWE, and I think vice versa.
But I think it was a better option than, as someone, how would you feel if you saw, any of those guys? If I woke up one day and Rusev was not Miro, and Rusev was whoever he wanted to be, maybe Miro, but in ROH, or in New Japan, or in what's the Luchador, Impact, or Lucha Underground. I don't think it would carry the same weight as people are going to say, oh, maybe that's too much of a step down compared to WWE to AEW. Same thing with Cesaro. Cesaro when he left WWE, now he's Claudio. I don't think he could have gone anywhere besides maybe New Japan that people wouldn't think that he was overqualified for it.
True, in the production, man, it's just the level. And I know these guys are still green and they have a long way to go, and some people have just never been there, so I don't take that as a problem. Mm-hmm. But as a person who has the money, who's running the company, and who has a love for wrestling, as Tony Khan does, you have to know that production is not on par anywhere near just the look of it. Any of that, everything just doesn't look on par compared to what it should be.
But everything is scale, right? If you think about it this way, as general manager of your own wrestling company, where you guys are at compared to where AEW is, or where ROH is, or WWE in that aspect, you're giving the best production value that you can for the tier where you're at.
Yeah, but we're all billionaires, though.
I understand that, right?
Right.
But you still see the value in the production value. So yes, you're talking, billionaires versus billionaires, right? But at the same time, you understand I need to put more money into production versus more money into other stuff. And that is where that makes you a good general manager and a good owner and all that sort of stuff, right? I don't feel the same way and the same thought process is done. Yes, the billionaire can afford better than the millionaire, right? So they should be able to give and have a higher production. So you're what you can build, what you have built, right? AW, what you can build, what you have built. It doesn't match, right? And that's where I see the lack of caring, the lack of experience, and all that sort of stuff come from, comparably to you, where you're doing the best for where you can, and when there is more investment, the millionaire turns into the multimillionaire, and all that sort of stuff, right? That's when the production value can go up, because you take all the money that you get from the business and you invest it back into the business.
True, and I think that maybe it'll get there. First of all, production is big, but also, I'm sorry, guys, I don't like the stage. I get it. It's not their stage anyway. But I don't like the stage design. I don't like the firecrackers that they use for their pyro. Like, it is terrible looking. Like, there's just so much. Like, and again, it's not about the wrestlers, because they have some of the best talent in the world. There's so many people there that are so talented in AEW that I really enjoy. But I just want to see the production level go up, and I want these guys to look larger than life. When you have sprinklers that you're using for these pyros that you're doing, that's what they look like. It's just terrible.
But I think they're still caught up in we're the non-WWE. Even though Cody's left and all that sort of stuff, I still think that, part of that roster has a grudge against WWE, and that comes out.
They have a grudge. Go.
They have to stop trying to be competition to WWE and start being their own thing. And I've been saying that since AEW started.
Mm-hmm.
You can't keep on trying to copy the bigger person without trying to make a name for yourself. Because then there's no reason for them to stop watching the bigger version and go with the newer version.
True.
If you're just a copycat.
I'm very intrigued with how their pay-per-view numbers are going to be. But I'm also impressed that they can keep up with people buying in to pay-per-views compared to not. I think that also does play a different role. I've looked on the Hulus and stuff. I don't see AEW offered on Hulu, those type of things as well. So that also, I think, is something I hope that they look into as well to kind of get, because that's the thing. If I don't have cable, but maybe I do Hulu, Netflix, and stuff, I can still watch Raw, SmackDown, Level Up, NXT. I never skip a beat.
Yeah, I could watch Monday Night's Raw today if I wanted to, or last night after NXT.
Yep.
It was available on the USA app, that next day. So
that's a difference. I also think YouTube, they get a good amount of views, but I just don't think that they're doing enough for where they need to be to get there. I think the biggest thing I see is the names. So they throw out a name that's a big indie or a New Japan wrestler. It's great, and but when you're throwing a name that I've never heard of, that doesn't translate to me when you say something like, hey, a John Cena, or a Roman Reigns, or The Undertaker, Stone Cold, The Rock. These are people that I know no matter where. It doesn't matter what country I'm in. It doesn't matter where anything. What nationality I'm in.
I don't think you can name 3 people on the AEW roster that have that type of weight right now.
No.
Maybe Jericho, because he's been all over the world.
Right.
Maybe Kenny Omega, because he's been all over the world. But you don't have anyone that's going to be like the John Cena or the Stone Cold or the Rock or anybody like that. And maybe it's the personalities that are there, or maybe it's the company that hasn't built them that way, or maybe it's the storytelling. But up until CM Punk got squashed for the title, I didn't even know Punk had the title.
Yeah, it's tough to keep up with that. And I think that it comes down to the company itself. Because, John Cena, The Rock, these guys are once-in-a-lifetime people. Now they're doing movies and all that. You lucked up for WWE to have these type of people. And I think that the Kenny Omegas...
But WWE built those people.
Yeah, but The Rock, man, there's just something about that, man. I don't think, even if he did go to wrestling, it's just to say he took wrestling out, the personality is the person he is. I think he's still now John Cena. That's a little bit different. I think that WWE really built him to be where he is. I feel like the Hulk Hogan's of the world and all that, the Andre the Giant.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. At the end of the day, we can end this conversation with this, right?
Yep.
I've always viewed it this way. Can you tell me the difference between Stone Cold and The Rock?
Who you said is it?
Both had absolutely amazing careers as wrestlers.
Yep.
Mount Rushmore wrestlers, some of the greatest storytellers on the planet Earth, right? But if you were to make a movie, or you were to write a book about their lives, Stone Cold ends in WWE.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that his life hasn't been anything since then. He's been on TV and stuff like that a couple times. But the best thing that Stone Cold has done in his life is WWE. The Rock, you can write a whole other book that's not even WWE.
True.
The Rock has basically become the biggest person on the planet. In movies,
Literally.
TV, in business, in life, and everything. On Instagram, I think he has the most social media following of anybody right now. So it's a whole other different level of celebrity. John Cena could possibly get there someday, but I don't think so, right? The Rock had a whole other life that people dream of. People dream about being a WWE superstar. People dream about being a celebrity. People dream about being a business owner. People dream about that. The Rock has done all of that and is doing that to the point where people are looking at him to possibly become president of the United States, right? I would too, and especially because I've met him before. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met. He lives down the street from my grandparents. So it's one of those things where you can't say no to the guy because he's one of the nicest human beings on the planet, but you take that, and that's the difference. We will never see that type of person with AEW. In my mind, in my eyes, we'll only ever see the Stone Colds. Where the best thing that they ever do in their life is be one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, but never get on that second level. Even look at Ric Flair. Ric Flair, the greatest thing he's ever done in his life so far is be Ric Flair. He's trying to do all this other sort of stuff, but creating Ric Flair is the greatest thing that Ric Flair has ever done, or Richard Flair has ever done. Plain and simple. I'll leave that conversation at that. Mr. Showtime, next topic.
All right, so let's see. Let's talk about NXT. Because I think this one, with Worlds Collide coming up, this one was just one for the books, and I really enjoy what they're doing with the UK versus the NXT version of it in America, and I'm really excited to see where these guys go next. How do you interject them all together?
No, for sure. I wasn't really excited about Worlds Collide until watching last night. And I don't know, because I haven't been paying attention to NXT UK, I don't know if it's any other reason other than I just didn't really care. But after watching last night, I tweeted out, I was like, this is shaping up to look better than Clash of the Castle.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. I mean, these guys are at their throats every time. I see a lot of energy. And, the one thing I love about the NXT crowd, I'm in there a lot with them, is that we're going to be the crowd that's going to be hyped when it needs to be hyped. We're going to push you. We're going to chant for you. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about some of these dead crowds. I heard a lot about that and Raw and just, dealing with certain things.
Yeah, but the crowd in the UK is unlike anything else, and that crowd's going to show up. I mean, in the beginning days of Black and Gold, when they would go over there and just, the cheers about Bayley, about Finn, about Becky, we're going to get that energy no matter what. And it's definitely going to be a different show than what we would see if NXT was home.
Yeah.
But that's what they need. The UK universe needs a send-off because they're not going to get UK for the next year or so.
Right.
Until that is rebuilt as, NXT Europe?
Yeah.
So, I think that's definitely going to play effect into that. And I went down a whole entire rabbit hole theory on a previous podcast before about how I believe that NXT is the future of the industry as together, and that's how they're going to bring back the territory system. So if you guys want to hear about that, we can definitely bring that back, and I can run that back for this podcast. and we can talk about it in more light. We'll save that conversation for another time because that's going to take way too long. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do. It's going to be a fantastic show. A barn buster or a slobber knocker, if you will be absolutely great. I think we're going to see something that we haven't seen for a while, and that we might not see for a while. But it's something that we've been begging for on WWE TV, which is hard style, strong style type of stuff. I think this will be a really good thing. We can see Nakamura do it at Clash of the Castle, and then we'll have a whole entire show the next day showcasing it.
Yeah, man, I think that for me, NXT is the new breath of wrestling. Just how it is with the smaller crowds. I know a lot of people have been trying to look at that too. If I put one in the stadium and running out of the same building every week, can I get the same results? And I think that whether you love it or hate it, I know some people hate the crowd at NXT. I'm in NXT crowd a lot. I can see, and I don't know if it always translates over to what's on TV. But I will say that they're always hyped, they're always loud. We're going to give you what you need from it as well. And I think that also really helps them as well. So you don't have to worry about some of these other places that, you go and you have a dead crowd. A dead crowd really can kill a lot of stuff. And that's the biggest thing. Like, even with WrestleMania having NXT, you do a takeover. And you look at some of these guys, and they would be huge pops. Everybody was screaming and everything for them. But when you put them in a big stadium and somewhere else, the crowd wasn't good. It didn't matter how good these matches were. It's still, the crowd just kills you.
Well, I think if they're going to do something like that, then they would have to do like what NXT does now. It's at the same place every single week. But if like an AEW or they wanted to do something like that for the main roster, I feel like it would have to be like what Impact did in the 2000s, which was rent a space at Universal and have it that way. Because it's the only reason why people are going to go to a specific place. I don't think they're going to ever go to a specific place to watch a wrestling event that's not also tied in with major tourist destinations.
Yeah.
So if you were to have, a WWE, theme park, if you would you can have it partner with Disney, which is ESPN, all that sort of stuff. You can have it partner with Universal, Comcast, all that sort of stuff, just like TNA and Impact used to do. But I don't foresee myself ever, even as a big fan and even as a person in the industry, saying, I'm going to spend $100 to go to NXT in anywhere else that I'm not already planning on going to. Because anytime I go to a pay-per-view, anytime I go to WrestleMania, stuff like that, I don't pick the city because I'm going there for WrestleMania. I pick the city because I want to go to that city.
Yeah.
100%. I'm not going to I'm not going to fly into a city, go to WrestleMania, and fly out. I'm going to go for the whole entire weekend. I'm going to see Friday Night SmackDown. I'm going to see Monday Night Raw. I'm going to see NXT on Saturday. And in between that, I'm going to go party with all the other crazy people out there and all of you, the people in the internets.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's the biggest thing. So when I look at WrestleManias, I'm always looking at the city. I think it's the big one for me. And there's special cities that I want to go. So like New Orleans, if it ever comes up again, I'd love to go to New Orleans because I've never been there. So I'd love to go to New Orleans, but also do that. I'm a huge Vegas fan person. So, if you have it in Vegas, I immediately want to go to Vegas anyway. So that just gives me another reason to want to go to Vegas.
Yeah, and honestly, keep it at home here as much as often. I would love, WrestleMania to kind of do like what the Super Bowl is doing.
I think Miami, I feel like Miami again.
Yeah, I mean, the NFL made a deal with the city of Miami where the Super Bowl is supposed to be there every 3 years.
That's a good way to go.
Because then you guarantee every 3 years there's going to be perfect weather in January, right?
Yep.
And they also have a roof. So either way you can go, right? So if you did something like that where every 3 years WrestleMania had to be at a home location, i.e. Orlando, i.e. Miami, Tampa, whatever, I think that's great. Then you can also build like a new WWE headquarters that was interactive and embraced and all that sort of stuff, because people will then know, okay, well, this is their home, that's why WrestleMania is every 3 years. Then they can even add on to the WrestleMania package, like, come check out our headquarters.
Yeah.
But I would never see myself unless they built like an Epcot You know,
Right.
I don't foresee myself ever going, let's just go to WWE headquarters this weekend.
Yeah, you do experience.
You know?
And I know a lot of people got the survey for the experiences and what they're trying to bring. So I think that that's really important as well. And for me, you know, man, WrestleMania is such an amazing thing, man. I have been to WrestleMania. I loved it. It was just special. It was something special for it, and I got to do it in Dallas. And you know, that's been where I've been for WrestleMania. And so I got to see my family while I'm in there and all that, and just, you know, take a vibe. I remember when I went to WrestleMania the first time, you know, I was literally going sightseeing, man. I already had WrestleMania tickets, and it was that good. So I'm literally going sightseeing in Dallas, just hanging out because I love Dallas so much. And I get to a spot, and I'm like, why are these people here? What's going on? I look, it's WrestleMania access. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I don't even know what this is. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. How much is it? $50 to get in, 4 hours, and all these people are going to be here as well. I got to see Matt. I mean, like, there's so much I got to do and see at this time. I didn't know I didn't. I'm sorry.
I wasn't there.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. Maybe next time.
Must have been off here.
Yeah, next time. But yeah, it was awesome, man, to be able to just sightsee. To your point, I didn't even come to do the rest of it. I already knew I had WrestleMania and all that stuff going on. And so I
even if like WrestleMania's in New York City, like we're not gonna go and do all the New York City stuff.
Right.
You know, if WrestleMania's in LA, it's not like I'm not gonna spend an extra couple days and not go to Disney.
Right.
You know, or something like that. So that's what you have to build. You have to build it to be like that. And I think WrestleMania itself is already there, but you know, I don't see them going backwards and making a one place spot for the main roster.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I feel you on that. Hey, man, we get some things done with that.
We got some stuff done. I mean, we talked about it. I mean, we're closing in on an hour, so let's wrap this guy up. Everyone, thank you for listening to the people. We had a wonderful time catching up, hanging out, doing all that sort of stuff. We are in the midst of finalizing the next episode, but I think Mr. Showtime is going to grace us with the upcoming card for the next RIOT Pro Wrestling event, and I believe we'll be able to do a pre-show on that to discuss it. So look out for that next week. RIOT Pro Wrestling, the next event is September 9th. Event description, event information is going to be in the description of the video. Thank you so much for your time. Please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button, and we'll see you in the next one. Showtime, you got any final words?
Hey, man, just, again, September 9th is going to be the day of reckoning in Melbourne, Florida. Please make sure you get your tickets or show up. Doors open around 7. And it's just going to be a crazy card. We just came from a disaster in Daytona, put on a great show. So RIOT has so much more that we're doing on our side. So as we said, we'll put the description in there. We'll have everything we need to. And, you know, next one we'll talk about what I believe, you know, as the GM of RIOT Pro Wrestling, who I think is going to win, what do I think is going to happen, and as always, you know, there's a certain person that I need to take care of. If you watch, you know, Daytona, and his name is JD. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like as well, since he thought that he could, you know, stomp me and put his hands on me from Daytona.
Well, it should be an interesting episode next week. The brain of Showtime is unbelievable, as you guys will find out over the next couple of weeks. It's been a pleasure. See you next week.
It's Showtime.